Welcome to the Young Americans podcast. Today I'm joined here by Sean and Joaquin. They're back on the show again. And today we're going to be talking about the future of the political clubs at LMU and just the political climate in general. And so I'll have both them go over the clubs they wanted to do. We were hoping to have on some of the heads of College Republicans, but there was a last-minute leadership and scheduling change. So long story short, now we have Joaquin here, and he's going to represent the other side of the aisle, I guess you'd say. I'm going to try and remain more impartial because I'm going to be graduating, so Joaquin's going to be taking over the Young Americans Club, and Sean's going to be taking over College Democrats. Although, Joaquin, you're also going to be taking over with Rankin as well. Rankin, unfortunately, can't be here either. We're last-minute scheduling. Everything's kind of up in the air. So just to start with you, Sean, so I seem less biased, what do you plan to do with College Democrats in the future? Where are you going to be taking the club? What are your ideas or goals that you're trying to achieve?
So just to start, I want to talk a little bit about where things were when I entered the scene. This is my first year here. I haven't been involved in this club prior to it. Long story short, we've kind of built it back from the ground up. It was in a very rough spot when I entered. I missed one meeting, and in that one meeting, everything fell apart. And then I walk in on the next meeting. It's like, hey, half of our board's gone. A lot of our members are gone. We don't really know what to do. Would you like to be a part of the club? I'm like, all right. And from there, we went through a bit of a rough spot, people not really being interested. But we managed to find some success in the second semester. And we've built up a small but very consistent group of people who I believe have a genuine interest. We've managed to fill our almost completely new board of people who seem dedicated to the job. And now that we've built up this base going into next semester, I want to actually start doing things with the club because the main focus of this year was just keeping it alive. So now that we have more people and we have people who are willing to put forth some work and some effort, we want to start getting more events out there, start reaching out to more members in the community, get on more guest speakers. We tried to do that first semester, did not work at all. None of the people we advertised to showed up, mostly because person was a bit of a nobody, and also bad timing, bad scheduling. But we're going to change that. We're going to start working with the higher ups, our parent organizations at California College Democrats. I've gotten in touch with some of them, and it sounds like we're going to get more help from them to sponsor and put our message out there. As for the general atmosphere of the club, while we do want to get more political, as in we want to become more active in the community and putting our voice out there more, we don't want to become more polarizing or partisan, because I think that's a major concern for the very mixed group we have in College Democrats. I probably shouldn't mention the fact that the majority of us aren't Democrats, but for the moment, it's a group of people who are just very interested in discussing political ideas and doing it in a way that's somewhat freeing. Nobody's really held to a lot of scrutiny. What happens in the club stays in the club. People don't go out and out them for saying something that they weren't really sure of or didn't really believe in. We want to, get more people in on that, have a sort of welcoming community where people are allowed to express political opinions the way they believe them, but you don't have to, express it the way we want you to. So yeah, I think that's the major tagline: more political, more active, but less partisan. We want to try to get everybody involved in on this because we want to work with YAF, we want to work with College Republicans, YDSA if they'll have us, Women in Politics if they'll have us. And just get more people in on, immersing themselves in the political environment in a way that doesn't feel like they have to pick a side. I've done some tabling in the past for the club, and I've already started to try and do this. I would sit down, they'd ask me, how do you feel about the other clubs? They're expecting me to, throw as much shade as I can, but I'm like, everybody, we all got our own opinions, and everybody is... From what I've seen, some people say other things, but everybody has their own welcoming communities. It's just focusing on different sides of political issues. It's like you should try them all. And we should not be making that harder and, trying to judge people for going to, college Republicans meeting before you go to college Democrats meeting. People shouldn't feel afraid of, exploring their options, so to speak. I guess I will throw some shade. I walked in on a YDSA meeting, and when I told them I was from College Dems, they kind of took a bit of a pause. They kind of looked at me and they're like, "Oh, so you're from that group, eh?" I don't want to do that to people that, we're starving for members as it is. We can't push away anybody. But yeah, so just trying to engage a wider audience and starting to put our voice out there more.
Yeah, I think that's a very good sign because I think a lot of the major clubs, at least with YAF and CR and College Democrats and everyone, I think they're all trying that similar approach of being more open and welcoming people in and open to discussion. And I think that's going to be pretty good for just the political climate going forward. And I like how I've seen over the past few years, College Democrats and College Republicans both started up again while I was here, because I think they both were a thing back in the 70s or 80s. They used to exist, but not in recent years. And they both started up again. It's been interesting to see the clubs evolve and grow. And so I think College Democrats are on a good path right now. It's be interesting to see where it goes the next few years. So I think you guys have a bright future ahead, not to be too cheesy. But
Thank you.
And then from the other side of the aisle, Joaquin, you've been a member of YAF and College Republicans a bit. So tell me a bit about your experience with the clubs and where you hope to take YAF next year with Rankin and what your plans are with him and how you're going to manage things and just operate on campus, or if you have any ideas of what you want to do.
I mean, I've talked with Rankin for YAF about more tabling, more events, and we're really looking to bring in more conservative speakers. That's at least we've talked about it, and he's gonna take care of much of the social and thing events, and I want to take care about being mostly speakers and making sure that people have a voice and their voices are heard. Because with College Republicans, what I've felt is that a lot of people don't go to the meetings or just because they're afraid. And I think that kind of happens with College Democrats as well, but not as much. Because every time that happened to me when my suite mate found out that I was a College Republican, he actually canceled me for a week. No joke. I don't know how a suite mate can do that, but he made it happen.
He did.
Yeah, and some of my friends, especially some of my female friends, started looking at me very differently, and so yeah, that's something that happens. But with YAF, I want to make sure that everyone who comes, I want to focus on the non-partisan side of YAF, because YAF is not either College Republicans or not either College Democrats. Yes, we kind of work aside with College Republicans because they have more resemblance to YAF than College Democrats. That's kind of obvious, but we're still not a partisan, so we don't want to go so I want to make sure that people who have conservative values and people who don't like either the Republicans or Democrats, I want them to let them know, hey, this is your club. So make sure that the moderate Democrats don't have to go to the socialists, because that's kind of rough, and that the scared people that are not going to go to the College Republicans meeting in scared of being tagged with being MAGA fans or something like that, that they can be sure that after that's not going to happen. We're just basically conservative, and if that alone gets me canceled, then we'll take the risk, I guess, because I mean that's the political status of America and the world kind of today. I mean, either you're with me or you're against me, and we want to make sure that in YAF that doesn't happen. So yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty good goal, because especially this semester, this year, my main goal with YAF at least was to talk with the other groups across the aisle, and I reached out to YDSA and Women in Politics, and College Democrats were the only people who were actually willing to reach out and talk. And so now I've talked with Sean a lot and Tessa and all the other people in College Democrats, and it's a great group of people. And I think that when you actually sit down and start talking to people and you put all the issues aside, you say, yes, we disagree on these things, but we can talk about it civilly, we can still be friends and good people and this and that. I think that that's a good goal to aspire to. And then branching off of that into just the political climate in general at LMU, you're both first-year students here, right? Just to double-check that. All right. So how do you feel in your first year here, at least? How would you describe the political climate? Would you say it's very like left-leaning, very right-leaning? Do you think that there's a lot of political apathy? Do you think that people don't like to talk about politics? Do you think that it's an opening environment or not an opening environment? Or just how's the college LMU experience been in terms of the political atmosphere? Either you can answer that.
Would you like to take the first stab at this?
Okay,
I feel like we have a
I'm
very
gonna-
similar idea.
Yeah,
of
I'm gonna
what's
keep it chill because I could say it's samples, but I know a professor's gonna hear this, so no. So no.
Well, he's not going to care too much, I think, right?
Well, I mean, I believe that this school specifically, it's very left, or at least tries to appear very left-leaning. Their students, some of them are not, because even though they don't go to the meetings or they don't participate actively in any club, there are many conservative students. I've met them. I mean, yes, my first semester I only hang out with kind of socialist people, so yeah, that was rough. But yeah, but basically the school tries to appear more left leaning. I mean, more too much liberal. For example, where there's tampons in the men's bathroom. So I think that explains it all. I've never seen them, but that's a fact. I've heard from very different sources.
It was a story, I think, right? It was a news. I think YAF talked with College Republicans and stuff about that too. I think that was an ongoing thing, but I wasn't involved in that.
I mean, I haven't
verify
seen them,
Yeah.
and actually, I don't think I want to. So, I'm just gonna leave it like there are. But yeah, basically, the school tries to appear more left leaning towards. But their students, some of them, well, I'm gonna say a big group of them are not in that political scheme. Yeah.
I don't have much to add to that. I do believe that, as an organization on the whole, being a liberal, it's not a liberal arts college, but, it's got a liberal arts program and, looking like socially progressive is good for business these days. So obviously, whether or not the school's trying to be, adhere to what they believe is right, or that's a whole argument that we won't have time before we get kicked out of this room. But it's like that's the appearance they want to take. Joaquin's definitely right about that.
I've also seen that they want to like less religious. They want to take some of the religious. They want to look like a secular school more and more. They're trying to. I don't know. That's the feeling I get because, kind of. They still have the religious values and stuff, but I mean, the Planned Parenthood shit. I think that explains it all. But I don't know. I think they're trying to look more like you said it, a progressive school and stuff, which is, like you said, kind of profitable these days. Yeah.
I remember us talking on a earlier podcast episode about that and how there's that sort of issue with trying to keep to what your school's principles are and also maintaining like sort of autonomy of students. At what point do you put your hand in and say like, this goes against what we're doing. You can't do it because this is what we believe. And while I don't remember enough of that conversation to go back into it, I can definitely see.
I just remember the 3% on the Nazis thing. That's all I remember.
Are you allowed to make cuts to this?
I probably can, but the question is it worth it because I got other.
I mean, I didn't say bad stuff. I just
yeah. It's a reference. Only true fans will get it.
Yeah.
Only true fans.
Only true fans. If you want to get it, go to the other episode and listen to the whole
Make sure
hour
to like,
and a half.
follow, and subscribe to look at our earlier episodes. No. Okay, so the one thing I did want to add, though, is to put more of an emphasis on what I believe is the sort of political apathy that, while there is I'm not as in tune with it, but it does seem like there's a strong, somewhat like bonding group of conservatives on campus, and there is I believe a much smaller and a lot stronger bond of like a lot of much more left leaning participants. particularly in the YDSA group. There's a much stronger concentration in that area. But I think for the general the general thing, which is unfortunately the audience that my club is trying to appeal to, there's a lot of apathy in there. And I've talked with a lot of people about it, and we believe for the most part is that since the general, not consensus, but like the general opinion is something that's like left, but not quite. It's like it's in this progressive area. Like everybody's attitudes towards things are much more progressive. I mean, it is LA after all. Because everybody kind of agrees for the most part, except for, these more bonded communities. People don't feel like it's a topic of discussion. They give their opinion on something. Everybody just kind of goes, yep, it's like, yeah, that's right. And then, you go off and do something that is more important to you because people don't see it as a conflict. They're like, oh yeah, I'm in the right. And I'm not really in an environment where I know or am completely aware of people who disagree with me. Because I think that's a trait that I've noticed in like particularly conservatives and like far progressives. It's that they're keenly aware of those who oppose to their ideas. Obviously, since the far progressive side is like trying to be very anti or trying to go against the school, trying to get them to change things and to change their structure. There's obviously people who don't want that, and they are aware of that, and that kind of makes the community a lot more close-knit. Same thing with the conservative, the general conservative stance. Joaquin was saying like he got canceled by his roommate for a week, which
mate.
I still want to hear more about.
Sweet
mate. I want to know how you get canceled in real, like in person. Like if he like unfollowed you from Instagram, I get that, but like
that's the worst part. He didn't unfollow me. That's the worst part.
Yeah, I want to hear a little bit more about that later. But
I mean, my roommate's that suite mate transferred, so I don't care actually.
Oh, okay. All right, as long as it's not a reoccurring issue, because
No.
I can just see him having a conversation. You walk in, it's like hashtag canceled, leave the room. He just puts up the hashtag sign as he's walking out. Like, nope, not for me.
Not for me.
Hashtag not my sweet mate.
Dang.
But yeah, so obviously, like being a conservative, you have to be pretty aware of who doesn't agree with you, and that people will disagree with you, and people will look at you differently without even hearing you out. But yeah, that like in general, that's not the audience College Dems has appealed to in the past. So it's very, it's very hard to be like, hey, come express your ideas. It's like, why? Everybody agrees with me already, and I don't have to reevaluate my opinions. I got the right ones. I'm not saying they are the right ones. I mean, it's a little obvious what I lean to more towards because, being president of College Dems.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's in majority the apathy that comes from people feeling very confident, very set in their opinions without feeling the need to combat with the other side, I suppose.
Yeah. I'm just thinking more about the whole political apathy thing. I think that you might be onto something there where I think that there's a lot of people who definitely have their political beliefs but I don't know if they realize it necessarily, where if they hear something they don't like or they don't agree with, they say, oh yeah, like I'm not like that, or oh yeah, I support that, but they don't know why necessarily. They don't really think about it much. And so I think a lot of that political apathy is people who actually know. Well, they don't know. They end up on one side of the aisle or not. Where I have a lot of friends who I'll talk to where they're saying, "Oh yeah, I'm a centrist. Or I'm not political. Like I don't get involved in politics." But then they always talk about, they support like this thing, like Joe Biden's doing things. They oppose all this like Trump stuff, or they like this person, they don't like that person. It's all along political lines. And I'm thinking like they definitely lean a political way. I just don't think they realize it because they think they're centrist, but that's just because everyone around them all these other like quote unquote apolitical people think similarly. And I think there's probably a lot of other people where if you went to a more conservative place, like a campus in like the middle of Idaho or something, you would probably have the reverse where there'd be a lot of conservative people who are like, oh yeah, I'm not political, but then they line up more conservative. And I think it's just people who don't necessarily realize they have these political ideas, maybe because they haven't thought about it a lot yet. And I don't necessarily blame them. Like, politics is not a fun thing to get into. And well, it can be fun, but there's a lot of ups and
Trump
downs.
made it kind of fun.
It's
kind of fun.
It can be fun, but
He made it kind of fun. Come on, his interviews were kind of funny. The way he just called fake news.
like
I mean, that became a meme.
it makes things interesting nowadays. Yeah, things are definitely interesting. You're never bored in politics, I guess you'd say. But I think one of going into LMU, I don't know if you two are thinking the same way, because when I first went to LMU as a freshman, I was more expecting it to be a very more overtly aggressive, out there, left-wing kind of campus, because you always hear these things about how, oh, LA and a college film school in LA that's going to be super conservative and not conservative, super liberal and super left-wing, and all these people are going to try and cancel you. You got to like hide yourself. And I never necessarily got that, and I ran into a lot more people who were apolitical or suppoftly apolitical. And so I would say,
I mean,
oh, yeah,
apolitical, but they hate Donald Trump.
yeah, apolitical, but, and then they have their political views. But it would be a lot of things where I would tell them I'm in YAF or I'm do this or that, and they would be like, oh, like, I don't know what that is, but cool. And it's just a lot of those things. Like, for instance, we were having the Michael Knowles and Andrew Klavan speaker event freshman year, and I saw one of my professors walking by, and she was not conservative. She didn't get into politics. You can tell she's not conservative.
To put it simply, not conservative.
She's one of those people who's non-political, but you know where they line up, basically. And so she was like, oh, like, cool, like, what are you doing? I was like, oh, it's this event, we're bringing some people. And she's like, oh, that's cool, like, you could like hand out these flyers to the class. And I was like, I don't know if you want me handing out these flyers to the class. Like, I'll do it, but I don't think that would be a smart idea, basically. And so it's a lot of these things where I think there's a lot of people who just don't know too much about the politics. And so you talk about these more in-depth issues, like, they know the basic things. They'll say, oh, like, pro-life, pro-choice, I know that, and all these other things. But I was expecting college and LMU and LA and everything to be much more like aggressive, more in your face sort of liberalism, progressivism, but I didn't necessarily feel that. And if anything, I felt that, yeah, there's just a lot of political apathy, or people not knowing or necessarily caring too much to get involved in politics. And especially when you table 9 times out of 10, people just say, oh no, like, I don't get into politics, and just keep walking, which is fair. And so I was almost not surprised, but it was interesting to come here and just realize that that's not what the political environment was like. I don't know if you two have that same experience, where if it is different than what you were expecting, if you were expecting it to be kind of like this, or what your thoughts were going into school and how the realities have shaped up to that, or if you had any thoughts about politics going in, because I don't know if you guys came in wanting to talk about politics, or...
I mean, I expected to get canceled at least 4 times this year, something like that.
Are you up to schedule, or are you?
No, very slacking. I'm very slacking.
It's
I
only
only had my
once?
suite mate canceling me. I don't know if that I should count that one, actually.
That counts, I think.
That counts. That counts.
Okay, I only got one.
Well, you got 3 weeks to get more, so
Yeah.
gotta pick it up.
scandal.
Yeah.
Every
I got
week.
3 weeks to get all the school to hate me. Yeah. But yeah, I expected to be more left, because you always hear stories about, California, if you don't give your pronouns, you're going to get expelled in the school or something like that.
I mean, I did have to write mine on my door.
I only had to for first semester. Now my pronouns are not there. That's not there.
Yeah.
But-
Yeah, I have.
I
don't know
remember
why I've
because in first semester, the RA came and I wasn't in the room. It was only my roommate, and the RA came and she was like, "Write your pronouns." Not joking. Not
Jeez.
joking.
Mine was a lot more passive about it. He's like, hey, I noticed you guys didn't, I didn't write on the door. And, it wasn't that, like, I had a problem with writing my pronouns. It was that my name tag was an Among Us name tag. It still is. I still have shit on my door. And I'm like, I don't want to do anything. I want to tear it down so bad. But
keep that, yeah.
like, I had like taken it off at one point, and my RA was like, hey, I noticed you removed your sticker. You need to put it back by the end of the week. I'm like,
What?
oh, okay. And I put it back up.
I've seen people who took it down, and because they threw it away, they told them, like, no, you need to put it back. They just got some duct tape, put it in, and write their names on the front.
But yeah, it's like, I don't know, like being like native California, especially like Bay Area, I knew coming in here that regardless of the school's opinion, the general like thing was going to be like, oh yeah, like I consider myself more left leaning, even though like I don't have any specific stances. It's like, I don't like Trump, as Joaquin was saying. It's like that was going to be the general stance of like I don't like Republicans, but I don't really know what to do from there. I think about why there's like while you were talking about like handing out the flyers, something I thought about is that the school really doesn't want to get politically involved. It does not want to give it does not want to give stances like at all. If stances are being given, it's like, oh, the students have to do it. Because like I've tried to communicate with like professors, especially the professors. I've tried to communicate, and it's like, oh yeah, we're not really supposed to work with, with groups. And they say groups, but I had a feeling it was like specifically the political groups. They weren't allowed to say things that. Well, I'm not saying there's like a gag order or anything, but it's like. They weren't really allowed to help. They're like, we'll help guide you, we'll help give you advice, but we can't like we can't give endorsements, we can't give like official sounding support. And I mean, going back to the Planned Parenthood response, like everybody was to reference our previous podcast again. Even though everybody was up in arms about that one line where we are going to, take a look at our policies and make sure that they align with our school's message. Realistically, has anything been done about that?
Not to my knowledge, no.
I mean, because that's exactly, like, in my mind, that's exactly what it is. They threw out that line. It's like, oh, yeah, we'll take a look at it. Yeah, we'll definitely go back and check. And they just threw everything away. It's like they said what they need to say to have everybody satisfied that like it was going to be given an honest effort. Maybe somebody did, behind the scenes work. Like I don't want to discredit whoever. If anybody put in that honest effort, I don't want to discredit them. But I don't feel like it happens because there's been no follow-up. I haven't heard anything from women in politics saying like, because they were afraid that they were going to get shut down in some regards. I haven't seen it happen. I haven't seen any follow-up on that. So yeah, the school really just wants to keep its hands clean as much as it can and appeal to everybody because, the more people who like you, the more money that gets sent in from students' parents. So because the school is sort of unwilling to really like take stances or push ideas itself and really wants the students to do it, there's a real lack of support. And it's kind of discouraging for the groups on campus who are trying to be politically active. I don't know if, YAF experienced much of that. Well, I know that YAF gets much of its support from outside and there's a lot more of a connected level. But for like college Dems, probably for college Republicans as well, like the lack of support on campus, it's a bit demoralizing. Trying to get like an event set up and they'll give you like the vague details, but they're not exactly enthusiastic. And it's demoralizing to have an event and be like, I think we're on for this. I think we have this room. I think we have this at this time. I don't think we can, work over here, but we just have to, throw our flyers to the wind and see what happens. It really doesn't build your confidence. And as long as they don't want to take a stance, the political apathy on large is still going to be a thing, unfortunately.
Yeah, because from what I remember, at least, the biggest issues we've ever had with the YAF and the administration is 9 times out of 10 it's just over money and who's going to pay for things. Whether it's going to be because, for instance, they would always try and make us pay for security, and then it'd be this and that, and how much money they're going to give us, and it's usually just about money. And then I remember one of the biggest things. There was a little bit with Ben Shapiro when we brought him. I think it was my freshman year. Yeah, my freshman year when we brought him. There was some back and forth.
There was they tried to make that not happen, right? Or something.
They gave us some extra red tape that we didn't really think was valid because like other events had never had to go through that same kind of red tape. So there was a bit of that, but I think one of the biggest back and forths we had was just over the rights of who got to like keep the film. Where, because LMU is like, oh, Ben Shapiro's coming. He's a big name speaker. Like we like to archive all these like big names that come to our campus. But then us and YAF, our parent organization, were saying, well, but it's our speaker, so we get to film. And LMU is saying, well, no, because we want to film because it's our campus and we get to. And so there's a big back and forth on who got the rights to film and who would get to keep it. And so, again, kind of going back to what you were saying, I don't think that they were too concerned from a political point of view where they're saying, oh, like we can't have him for this reason. I think it was mostly just the attention it would bring and the name it brings to the campus. Kind of like when they held the Democratic primary debate here. I don't think it's because they really love the Democratic Party. I think it's because having your university host a presidential primary is a big thing.
It's a big thing.
Mhm.
Yeah, so I think that it was mostly just, oh, like big attention, big.
It's not like
It's good, looks good for us. I
But
don't
would
think
they
care, but
would they hold a
No.
Republican convention?
no.
No.
Because it
never.
doesn't bring in as
Never.
much money.
I think because it would have been more I think it
would
would
have
have
been
just 'cause of the
controversial.
pushback. Yeah, I don't think
Yeah.
because they really care. I think it's because they know that everyone would throw a hissy fit if they did, which it would have happened. So
I mean, I just think that it's because Trump was in there. If it wasn't because he's a polarizing, well,
he is polarizing.
yeah, he's Trump. That's the best way to describe him. But I
Yeah.
think that if he wasn't there and the Republican Party wasn't that polarizing because there are some people who don't get everyone mad like he does. I don't think the university would have a problem, but it's just that for the Republican Party, California is almost like a lost state or something like that.
Yeah, I think I don't know, like Will and all the state level CR guys definitely haven't given up, but I think by and large, at least on the national scale, the conservatives and the Republican Party have, I think, kind of abandoned California, at least from what I've seen. There's not really much attempt, which I don't know. That's a whole nother debate on its own about national congressional politics and whatnot. But we can have that talk if you want. But I think that's maybe a little less interesting. I'm trying to think about how I want to phrase this, because I guess going forward, then for your guys' clubs in the future and how you want to run things, have you been in talks with the administration, or do you have any plans on how to work with the administration? You're going to try to, or because I don't know, a lot of times the administration's always like a secondary thought in the back of people's minds where they're just the technical things you have to go through to get to the place you want to be in. I know that people have been very helpful to me in the administration, at least. I know people in the SLD office have always been helpful. I don't think that they've ever tried to backhand me or undermine me or like say they can't help it. I think they've been very helpful. I've heard they've talked behind my back, but I hear that a lot about a lot of people that I don't think is true. Without getting into a lot of drama, there's been a lot of people who say, "Oh, so and so is talking behind your back," and blah, blah, blah. And then I talk to them, they're like, "No, like that. I've never." Again, I don't know who to trust in a lot of these situations, but I think people say that to me either because they're exaggerating something or because they're trying to get me to join their side on the whatever debate or whatever's going on. But so I don't know if they're actually talking behind my back. I don't think they are. They're very nice to me in person, and I've had nothing but good things to say about them, at least. So I don't know. Yeah, with the administration, how do you guys plan on handling them? Because I know that some people are much more antagonistic. I know a lot of people aren't huge fans of President Snyder on both sides of the political aisle for various reasons. And so how do you guys plan to interact or work with the administration or work against them if you don't like the administration?
I don't have a ton to say about it. My main focus was like keeping the club alive. Like you said, the administration was a technical secondary thought. And it's kind of funny. I got some of that same experience you did that apparently some people have been talking about behind my back in the SLD office where somebody went and mentioned me and they're like, "Oh yeah, I know that guy." I'm like, "What? I thought it was nice." But at the same time, like the person who went, every time I went, it was because they were like really concerned about it. It's like, "Sean, I need you to go down there. I need you to confirm this." I'm like, "They have it handled. What are you talking about? I need you to do this." So I walk in just unannounced, like, "Hey, it's me again. I need to talk." I can see how that gets a little annoying, but regardless of whatever that is, they're still very open and like from a technical level, it's very easy to go through. So that I'm thankful for. Yeah, and about the Snyder bit, I have seen a lot of mixed opinions about Snyder. and especially like within my own club. I don't know if that's gonna get my club shut down, saying that there's an infestation of Snyder haters in my club. Like I'm I don't know, it's a bit of a dilemma. Like if I got an opportunity to work with the school on a higher level, like we had tried to do it like an event that like tied much more into the administration. Unfortunately, it didn't end up working because there wasn't much of a consensus on what to do. People were being very flaky about setting up times, giving information. So ultimately, the project kind of imploded on itself, and I think I had to do a lot of the like connecting work, and then I just had a few weeks where everything was blowing up, and I'm like, I can't deal with this right now. So, like I said, project imploded on itself. But that's the thing. Like, if hypothetical scenario, like I get like an email from like Snyder's like secretary and being like, "Hey, we want you to promote this," or like, "Hey, would you like to join or put your name on like something with the school, or would you like to, you like to come up on a panel and talk with?" I mean, there's no possible world in which we get invited to like talk to Snyder personally in front of an audience, but like if they wanted to do like, "Hey, we're connecting with our student base, our student political bases, and we're trying to show communication," like, will my club want that? Do I want that? If I do that, am I going to get called a sellout? I don't know. I don't know. I want to know what Joaquin thinks on this. If you were given the opportunity to like directly communicate or like be in cahoots with like Snyder and like the upper level administration, are we allowed to talk about the declaration?
Not any specifics. We can mention it exists. You don't want to talk about it?
No.
Yeah, we don't have to go into specifics.
We have a long way in this college to still no.
Okay, but yeah, like just the general like antagonistic behavior towards Snyder. Actually, no, that's too strong of a word. Just some people in y'all's club don't like Snyder. That's fair enough to say, right? I mean, some people in my club don't like Snyder.
I'm surprised that people in your club don't like Snyder.
Well, yeah,
I thought
but
that was
I
only
think that's also
a Republican
I think that's
thing.
also because half of our club is your club as well. So maybe you guys have bled into.
Yeah, that doesn't
ours,
happen in ours.
But yeah, it's like sensing.
I mean, there's a lot of dissent for President Snyder. I mean, I don't have reasons to not like him, but I don't have reasons to like him either. I mean, I'm just like, he's the president, what am I going to do? I'm more focused on reviving the club, resurrecting the club, getting more people in it. And I think that until I manage to do so, I think I'm not going to go in a full war against the administration. And I'll try to work with them, and well, if they mess with me, I'll mess with them. But if everything runs smoothly, then I'm not gonna create problems. I'm not gonna be an antagonist or anything, because I feel like there are priorities in this type of scenario. I think like getting more people into the club is like number one priority. Then after I actually get to that, and if people want to, then yeah, we can maybe. If the administration does something that really pisses us off, then maybe we can do something, or I don't know. But for now, I don't see myself going against President Snyder or any people from the administration.
Yeah. Building off that, we were talking. This is going back a little bit, but also what Joaquin was saying about reviving the club and everything. With everything we've been talking about, with political apathy and this and that, and lack of support from the administration, all this, how do you two plan to go about reviving clubs and bringing in more members and involving people in these political talks? Because we've talked a lot about how people don't necessarily want to engage in those political talks. And so how do we go about reviving these political groups and making people want to show up to college Democrats and young Americans and college Republicans? And how do we encourage people to show up and make sure we have a consistent, strong base, I guess.
Donuts.
Donuts.
And pizza. And
Yeah,
while that sounds like a joke, I like, okay.
No. Pizza's a huge motivator, dude.
Yeah,
don't.
Like
It's a
for,
great way of sponsoring the club. Don't
won't.
joke about that.
Yeah, like I was doing tabling, and we had our signature for the email list. Even though none of these people have showed up, at least they put their emails down.
That's something, yeah.
At least they're getting this information. First hour, no donuts, 2 signatures. Next hour, I ordered donuts. We get like 10 signatures afterward. I'm not saying it's I'm not saying it's cause, but it's very strongly correlated. And with the pizza, another situation. I go to a College Republicans meeting. There's pizza. Got a lot of members. I go to College Dems meeting. No pizza. Not a lot of members. I start ordering pizza. Now we have slightly more members, and it's a constant people are showing up.
There's a pattern, yeah.
Yeah, it's a pattern. Having incentives, having
gaming free food and good free food.
It's it's a reassurance that there's going to be positives at a club, because I know certainly that when I walk into a new environment, I'm very okay, I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's going to be served. I don't know if I should eat beforehand. I don't know water. I don't know who who all is going to be there. I don't know what I have to wear. Even if it's a very casual club, there's a list of steps you have to go through to be okay, what am I walking into? I know I kind of went through that list mentally when I went to my first College Republicans meeting, because I'm still not very familiar with the environment. But it gave me confidence to know that I already had a lot of friends in the group, even though if y'all made that really awkward for me. But yeah, it's knowing that and knowing okay, there's something that I can take comfort in knowing. So it's knowing that the club has good pizza, has food and drink, and a social hour, really listing out what the club has to offer. It allows people who aren't sure about what they're walking into to be okay, even if the political situation turns out wrong and, people start throwing chairs at each other, I can grab pizza for free and I can leave at any time. People like to compartmentalize, sort of okay, this is what I'm here for. This part may not be good, but this part will be, so I'm gonna stick here for that. That's the big part. The second part is okay, we got the food, but now the political stuff, because keeping people I don't want to get too much into this because there are a lot of names to be thrown out.
Yeah.
But
yeah, and I can assure you 99% Tess is gonna hear this whole conversation. So yeah, I can assure you. She did already, so yeah.
She's got a secret recording device under the table. She's hearing the live stream. God, I'm gonna get a text on my phone saying I heard that.
Shout out to Tessa, President of College Democrats. Shout out yeah.
Yeah, I feel we're name dropping a lot of names. I don't know how many people are familiar with all these names, but
I won't do any more name dropping. But yeah it's and Joaquin, you were present for this. Drew, you weren't. We recently had an election in College Democrats, and there were a lot of points being thrown out, but the one that was the most interesting to me was how do we create a space where people can discuss their ideas and talk freely, and also open it up to a wider sort of audience. And there were two very different set of opinions. One, in terms of organization, one believed that in order to have that, you need to have a very structured, okay, we have this corner of opinion, we have this corner of opinion. We put them on different sides, and we have them talk to each other, and do debates, do these formal contests, because that's ultimately what it would be. if anytime I've walked into a debate, I'm like, this is a contest to see how I'm going to win. Maybe I'm thinking of debates in a wrong sort of way, but like if you call something a debate, that's what people think it is. It's a contest of like see how your ideas can beat somebody else. And it's like that was one area. And the other one was less organization. People just need to speak freely. And in unorganized, like, okay, it's your talking time. Like, you can't have that. It needs to be a free environment. And I forget to mention, but the second layer is like having being able to discuss your ideas freely and having good political conversation while also having while also not being antagonistic towards people's opinions, because it's a very fine line between having a respectful disagreement and having a hostile disagreement. It's like, where do you draw that line? How do you protect people's opinions while also exposing them to other opinions? And personally, I lean, obviously, as all things political, I lean towards more of a hybrid of the two opinions. Like, yes, in a formal setting, we can have like a debate of ideas, but in an average meeting, it needs to be an open discussion where people can say what they want freely, and expect pushback, but like not expecting a hostile responses. That's the one thing I need to really rein in on as president, because that's the natural inclination, especially we've talked about Trump a lot, but yeah, like the idea of a hostile political response, that's like that's the war we live in now, unfortunately. I had a conversation with somebody earlier today, and I'm not gonna name drop, but like I'm like, oh yeah, so and so is a Republican now. This isn't like in reference to the political club. This is like one of my high school friends. It's like, oh yeah, so and so is a political. So and so has changed their political opinion. And my mom immediately switched on him. It's like, oh, well, suppose they don't like women then. I shit you not. That's actually like, she's like, oh, so I suppose that, insert like really extreme Republic or right-leaning opinion. She listened. I'm like, Mom, they're just they're just like experimenting and seeing like they feel a bit more conservative on issues. They're seeing if they can find a community in this party. It's they're not Nazis. They haven't
They
started.
could be.
I've known the person for a while, so if they turn out to be a Nazi, I think that error is on me. But it's like, I don't know, giving saying that you doubt something or something elicits that strong of a reaction. I mean, that's what we've been conditioned to do, is just completely go against people on the other side of the aisle. And that's very present in a lot of club discussions. It's very unfortunate. I need to rein in on it. It's going to suck. But yeah, pizza, donuts, let people talk freely, and rein in on the offensive stuff.
Yeah.
It sucks because like the people I'm talking about know exactly what's going on.
Yeah, everyone of your club who listens to this podcast is gonna
So
understand
it's just
perfectly
Tessa.
what you're talking about.
Nobody like only.
Yeah, well,
only
Tessa's
the
gonna
only the
understand
president's
perfectly
gonna-
what you mean. Yeah, even
Yeah.
though you didn't name anyone, she's gonna know.
Can't wait.
Yeah, but no. Okay, ways to reviving the club. Yeah, pizza, tabling with food. That's another way. Tabling with food and also we talk about tabling with not so much controversial stuff. For example, we're not gonna table pro-life. We already did that. Did not work. So yeah, mostly tabling with food, and also a way we're gonna try to increase because this I believe, I don't know if the same happens with YAF, but for College Republicans you have like extremely high registration but very low attendance turnout.
Well, yeah, I think on Leo, YAF currently has 83 or so people registered.
See?
Then
They
the
have,
problem
like,
is
Oh, we
most
got
of
like
them don't show up.
120.
See,
Yeah, it goes like
this
that.
type of political clubs have like a lot of people who register, but then they
They don't
just
show up.
never go. So what we're gonna do is basically a measure we're gonna take is like, hey, we're gonna make some of the meetings mandatory.
Mm.
Not all of them, obviously, but like for example, the first two are gonna be mandatory. You don't go if you miss them, like the mandatory meetings. I don't know what is gonna be very specific. I don't know if it's just one or if you miss two or something. I don't know how much, but that would be a good idea. Like if you miss a certain amount of mandatory meetings, you're just taken out of the email list and Leo because you're not gonna be angry.
You're not an actual
You're
member.
not an
then,
actual member.
Something that to add on to that idea, like I think this is the one time I'm gonna reference why do you say in a positive light, shockingly. But they, I think they have a pretty good Okay, it's not a pretty good handle, but they have a handle on it in a way that the rest of the clubs aren't doing, in which if you are absent for a certain amount of time, you have to attend, not attend, but you have to participate in a sort of recap meeting where you are kind of introduced. Because the thing about YDSA is they're a lot more active, and they're like, okay, this is what we're doing, this is what we're pushing for, while the other clubs are kind of, stumbling after post-COVID, our little post-COVID recession. But yeah, it's like you need to be very up to date on what's going on in YDSA. So it's like if you miss like 3 meetings in a row, you can't participate until you're back up to speed. And honestly, it's like that makes sense, even though I feel like they were a bit too harsh about it. Like an example I remember is they had a member who was, going away, like studying abroad. They're like, do we keep them as a member? It's like, we don't want to, because they were like a very dedicated, very active member. I could like just see it from the way she was talking. She knew everybody had faith in her. And they're like, we don't want to set a precedent of, not allowing this person to participate because they won't be present for meetings. It's like, and I had to tell him, I'm like, this is one of the most dedicated members he got. Like, don't like kick him, like, don't give him the boot on technicality.
Yeah.
And for just to talk about the mandatory thing, because I think that's a great idea. I think I might want to add that.
Yeah, you can have. We don't have the right. We don't have the rights to it. So yeah, it's a free, open, public idea.
Yeah, it's like a mandatory meeting. Set the tone. If you don't attend that one, you have to email within like a week saying, "Hey."
No. If you really can't go to the mandatory meeting and you send an email, that's a good way to put it. Because I understand people sometimes got stuff to do.
Yeah.
Or they have homework or something. If you send an email and you tell me, "Yo, I'm not gonna be able to go, but I would really like to, but I have to do this, and that," then that's okay. But if you just don't show up, don't say anything, then I'm gonna like, okay, for the next mandatory meeting, you have to be there, or we'll just remove you from the email list. Or
yeah, I'm thinking of College Republicans right now because I remember hearing about events they had in mind, just social, casual stuff, and maybe like a required amount of meetings to participate in such events. Like I remember they wanted to work with the surf club to just go pick up trash on the beach. Like,
yeah,
that's not a political thing. That's not
a political thing. Yeah, you just said it.
It's maybe you just have to attend like a certain amount of meetings or a meeting regarding that event specifically.
Yeah, those are good ideas. I don't know if it's gonna. There's no like scientific.
I mean, we have to try.
We have to try. There's no like scientific way of like, no, if you do this, and that, you're gonna get attendance go up. Sure, no.
I
wish. Unless we get Justin Bieber in the club, I don't think no one's gonna go or something like that. But yeah, mandatory meetings. That's something. Both College Republicans and YAF are talking to do. I don't know, College Democrats. I think you kind of like the idea, but
yeah, it's like, how am I gonna like?
We just have to solve out because I don't think if you miss one one meeting you should be thrown out. No.
Oh, definitely not.
I don't
Like,
think that should be
I'd
the
get
way.
kicked out of the club if that happens.
Yeah, I would get kicked
You have
out
no
of the club
members,
as well.
yeah.
Yeah, but we have to establish a system of like if you don't go to a set of meetings, then you just kicked out because you're not a member of the club.
Yeah. And you have to make sure you don't take it too seriously, because that's the one error I think YDSA did, is that they took it a little too seriously. And
Oh no,
like,
that recap meeting, nah.
No
That's
recap
gonna be
meeting? Yeah,
that's
it's like
gonna be a pain in the ass to do. Nah,
fair,
nah.
very fair. But yeah, like just them talking about, he took it very seriously, and like I feel like College Gems is even like in a less position to take like serious like attendance issues seriously, because it's like we can't scare off the little amount of people we have. We need everybody to come like when they can.
No, yeah, the mandatory meetings will be like every like 3 weeks or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Another incentive I was thinking of, and I want to know if YAF and College Republicans had any. We're also thinking about this. Talk about internships. Like in the little bit of reconnecting I've done with our parent organizations and outside groups, I got contacted by. We've been contacted by 2 groups over the past year, Swing Left and Project Super Bloom. One's like a nonprofit, one's a PAC. And yeah, they're both like, hey, we want, here are some tools, like here are some communities you can get connected to. We're off, like, here are things we want volunteers for. And I think for tabling specifically, I'm going to be advertising that stuff specifically, like, hey, get connected to this group, start, acting with this, start doing this. Hey, I have an event that we wanted to do, but eventually we didn't have time for. For the California State Assembly, we did give an endorsement for Tina McKinner, who actually won the race. So yay us, we did so much for that. But it's like getting people connected to the races specifically. Like the dream is like getting people connected to like campaigns, because that is something that is possible for us. We can figure out how to like get people connected to campaigns, to other nonprofit organizations on campus. And if I'm thinking like my dream scenario is I have a nice big College Democrats table, got my pizza, I got my donuts, and I just got a bunch of flyers being like, hey, here are all the interesting things and all the interesting groups I can connect you with. And I mean, I'd like, obviously it's a little bit iffy because College Dems is a partisan organization. So we're very limited on who we can and cannot, chat with. I'm pretty sure that I don't even know if like the parent organization knows that we even like speak to YAF and like College Republicans on like an even level. I wonder, like, I'm very curious, and hopefully they don't.
I mean, but you actually speak with College Republicans because your former president has a complicated relationship with the president of the College Republicans, to say the least.
That is true. That is very true. But I knew now. Like I had spoken with Natalie when she was, when she was doing that, and I assured her, like, it wasn't going to be like that in the coming years. And with Ryland, I feel like that's going to be even easier, because, I mean, like, I'm just chill with Ryland. Like, I didn't even have to like approach him in like an official like, so you're the new president of College Republicans. Congratulations. I'm here to talk business. It's like, hey, good job, man.
Good job, dude. You're one of the boys. Yeah.
It's like, yeah, exactly, one of the boys. It's
one
like,
of the boys. Yeah.
There's no conflict there, and I wonder if this by some streak of bad luck, this finds its way into like this like CDA, and they're like, hey, you're not supposed to be talking with those guys. You're supposed to be rooting against them.
I don't know. I would think they'd encourage that, but then again, I don't know. On the upper levels, people tend to care a lot less. They just tend to follow the rules. It'll be like that kind of bureaucratic, like, oh, you're not following the guideline. Maybe, but I don't think they'd care that much that you are in talks with that president of College Republicans.
There's a lot, like, because realistically, nobody on the higher up's going to hear about this.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of drama. From the little bit I've seen, like, I tried to participate in, like...
I mean, I feel like those type of things, like, for example, college Democrats here talking to college Republicans, the biggest scenario, the big leagues are thinking they're not going to care, actually.
Hopefully.
I don't think so.
I get a nice sealed envelope saying... You have 1 week to cease communications, or else I'm shutting down your organization.
I seriously think that's not the case. That reminds me to the conversation I had with my roommate, the suite that canceled me. Actually, before he canceled me, he was explaining to me why the Donald Trump president was bullshit. I was like so okay, give me your points, give me your economic points, give me your policy points, and then his first explanation was, oh no, it's just that people in my neighborhood were racist to me. I'm like, okay, what do you want Donald Trump to do to the I mean, so see, those are like those things are bad, but those are like little things, little scale things. I don't think the big scale, the big fish is not gonna care. But I mean, it's not that he doesn't care. It's just that what the fuck am I gonna do? I mean,
yeah, very fair point. Yeah.
Yeah, I think unless you guys had any last things to add, because we are getting somewhat close to time.
Yeah, shout out to Planned Parenthood for sponsoring this.
Hey, wait a minute.
Hey, he said that, not me. Yeah, person said that, not me.
Yeah, I'm gonna send this to YAF. You're gonna have to talk with them now. Yeah, because I still have to pack everything down, and we're gonna get kicked out of the room at 2:30. So yeah, if you had any last things you want to add or say, or nothing official. This is not really like an official capacity, really.
Oh, yeah.
So.
I'd say, like, I am very optimistic for where things are going. Yeah. Like, just knowing how it was in the past for, all the groups. It really feels like for some reason that the clubs are just kind of getting not a clean slate. It's not like, there was stuff that needed to be scrubbed off. I feel like, at least, like, I won't speak, for anybody else other than College Gems. There was certainly some stuff that needed to be scrubbed clean. And it's like now we have a much more solid base. We have an idea. We have committed people. And I'm very enthusiastic to be, to have good relations with most of the clubs on campus. I need to reach across, I guess I've already reached across one side of the aisle. Now I need to reach back and get to the other side of the aisle, see if I can work with more people in that regard. But yeah, overall, I'm very optimistic. I'm very happy, and I'm very fortunate to have gotten to know everybody in the sort of political sphere. Everybody's been great. Like, I was kind of expecting a lot of I was expecting the drama to not be in my own group. I was expecting the drama to be with other groups attacking us.
There is drama.
Oh, okay, yeah, but that's...
A little bit.
We all know that's going to go away in like a semester.
Yeah, but, I mean, that is a really complicated, to say the least, drama.
I think that's more of a person-to-person drama.
Yeah.
But yeah, especially
I'm definitely going to be hearing about that one.
Oh, yeah, you're going to keep hearing about it.
Yeah, let's cut the chase because one of the people are gonna hear this conversation. So yeah, let's stop talking about that. I mean, just to say that I see this as an opportunity because basically we can kind of start from scratch, basically. So yeah, I also feel that because of COVID, fresh sophomores especially, as they had to do their first year online, they didn't take clubs seriously. So they're kind of like us right now. They're kind of new to these things. So, yeah, I don't know. It's kind of a clean slate.
Yeah, it's really interesting because I think 4, maybe even 5 years ago, YAF was the only political club on campus, and there wasn't much of a political scene outside of that. And so it's been really interesting just seeing college Republicans pop up, college Democrats pop up, YDSA, Women in Politics. It's been interesting to see all these clubs pop up, and there was a lot of drama over the last 4 years, especially within YAF. I could go on forever about we had a lot of internal e-board drama, and then there was all that, and that's kind of what partially created College Republicans out of that drama, and then there's a lot of drama within CR, and I'm sure, Sean, you can talk about all the drama in College Democrats. And,
Oh, Lord.
But I think now it's actually looking pretty good. Like you were saying, I think that it is going to be a clean slate because now all these people with all these very interesting, entangled histories and all this drama and all this stuff is leaving. And I think all the people coming up seem on pretty good terms, like everyone was saying. And I think that everyone coming in all the administrations for all these clubs and all the e-boards and all the members, I think they're all on pretty good terms and we're all more or less on the same page, at least about reaching out and talking to people. And so it's been interesting to watch that kind of evolution, and it's good to see that things are finally switching that direction because I think that's much healthier for the clubs and for the members and for the people and just the political climate in general. And so I'm pretty satisfied with where things are going. I think that it's looking a lot better than things were. And it's been a rocky few years between all the clubs and internal and external and everything, but yeah, it's looking pretty good with a clean slate. Any last thoughts, comments?
No, those were my last thoughts.
Those are your last thoughts?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because
I'm pretty happy with that.
The last thoughts have been going on for like 5 minutes.
Yeah. The last thoughts are kind of like an introduction to our last thoughts, kind of.
Yeah, we're going to start another tangent. This is the first half of the podcast.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you guys for both coming on, just talking about everything. Thank you everyone who's here for listening, and I hope you all have a good day. Good luck with both your clubs in the future, and I'll hopefully keep in touch and see how things are going, and hopefully everything stays on the path it's heading right now.
All right.
All right. Thank you for having us. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Everyone have a nice day.